Hi, everybody, and thanks for joining me today for Thursday Thoughts with the First Lady. As I've said before, my Thursday thoughts I usually share with you are just thoughts that I've been having or places that the Lord's been taking me in His Word. Well, this morning the Lord took me to just a different place, and I want to kind of share that with you. The Lord began to ask me this question this morning. Tracy, are you doing just what I've commanded you to do so that you're in right standing with me? Or are you going above and beyond and doing more out of your love relationship with me? So that's what I want to talk to you about for a few minutes this morning. Have you ever, as parents, had a child who you give them a task or a list of chores and they do every single thing you've asked them to do, but they just do the bare minimum? You know, they don't go over and above. They don't go above and beyond. They don't miss anything that you've asked them to do, but they don't do anything more. And then on the other hand, you may have this child that every time you ask them to do something, they do it with all their might. And they go above and beyond everything that you've asked them to do just because they want to please you. Well, that's kind of where the Lord had me this morning. I was reading in Luke chapter 17, and Jesus shares a parable in that chapter. And he talks about a servant who comes in from the field, and the servant had completed his chores for the day, everything that his master had given him to do. And then he talked about should that servant come in, and after he's completed his chores, just sit down at the table and expect to be fed? Or what would it be like if that servant came in from his chores and everything that he had been told to do and was expected to do, and then came in, put on an apron, pulled out the chair, set his master down, and began to serve him and begin to prepare all the things that he really liked? Which servant would be the most pleasing to the Lord? And as I read that, the Lord just began to speak to my heart. And he said, Tracy, are you the servant who is doing just enough to get by? Are you just keeping my commandments to keep my commandments and to stay in right standing with me? Or are you going above and beyond and doing more for me than what I've actually commanded, just out of a love relationship with me? And as I begin to think about that, God began to speak to my heart and say, and I begin to examine my heart and say, am I doing enough? Am I doing everything that I can possibly do for the Lord? And I believe that God wants you to examine yourself today with me and ask yourself, am I just keeping the 10 Commandments, doing everything right, living right, just so that I can stay in right standing with God? Is that where I'm at? Or am I going above and beyond? Am I looking for someone to minister to? Am I looking for someone to give to share with? Anything that I can do that I feel that would be pleasing to God? Am I that child that does just the bare minimum so that they won't get in trouble? Or am I that child that goes above and beyond because they just love their parent and they want to please? And so I'm examining myself this morning. And as I do that, I ask you to do the same thing. Which kind of servant are we going to be today? Are we going to be the kind that does the bare minimum and just make sure that we fulfill all the commandments of God so that we're pleasing Him and we don't get in trouble and that we are in right standing with Him? Or are we going to be that child of God that loves Him with such a passion that we decide that we want to go above and beyond the commandments and the requirements, and we want to serve Him and do things for Him just purely out of our love relationship with Him? I encourage you today to join me in examining your heart. And if there are things that the Lord, that you can do for the Lord just out of a pure love relationship with Him. Maybe you're not doing enough. Maybe you're not really fulfilling your calling. Sure, you're obeying His commands, but are you doing everything that He's called you to do? Are you fulfilling your destiny today? Join with me today in examining yourself and asking yourself that question. And I just pray that the Lord begins to speak to you and begins to show you what exactly that you could be doing for him out of your love relationship for him, and what he has called you to do in an even greater way than you've ever thought of before. Thanks for joining me today for Thursday Thoughts with the First Lady, and I'll see you guys next Thursday.